Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in as we kick off a brand new week here on the show. Lon Strickler is here with from phantomsandmonsters.com. We're going to get into some scary monsters as we lead into Halloween night this Friday night. But first, let's say hello to each and every one of you. Why? Because, well, damn it, it's just what we do. Kitty Cattywhack in the gold medal position. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a silver. Paramarv taking home the bronze medal tonight. Race Fan, how you doing? And Kathy Evans, nice to see you. Kurt M, good to have you here as we continue on with our roll call. Road Flare, nice to have you here. Luscious Jules is here. Luscious Jules will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Scrolling on down, Robert Lamoth, how are you? T-Bone, my man, thanks for coming on in. Eternity Eternal. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because Lon Strickler, let's say his name politely, Dave, and correctly. Lon Strickler refuses to do this show without Mel WD40 lubing up beforehand. So thank you, Mel, for taking the time. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship and B and Mama Catherine. I'm sorry. I had a bad day today. My neck is killing me. So Mama Catherine, thank you, my dear. I love you so much. And we're going to continue on. God bless you, or Goddess bless you. Welcome to SOR chat. Carol Amario, thanks for coming on in. Mickey G is here. How you doing? And who is next? Oh, long conversation. Flubber Lane, how are you? Operation Shutdown, nice to see you. JSCO, nice to have you here. JSCO will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Kitty Cattywhack, thank you so much for kicking off this super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much for your love. Sir Wolf, how are you doing? Escape from Blue Jersey, nice to see you. Frankie B, I'm Hardcore, and Gary J, how you doing? Undead Jed, nice to have you here. J True Seeker, nice to see you. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to get a show in here, but I'm just not feeling well. Not feeling well. Necessary Dialogue, thanks for coming on in. Walter Kochabinski, how are you? Algaray on Twitch, 1,600 calf raises in 4 minutes to warm up for Lon tonight. Lisa Smith, how are you? Millennium, my man, thanks for coming on in. And let's see, your Warden Dragon, Digger Dog. Let's get the radio side going, guys. Pilgrim Society. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com coming up here momentarily. And we thank you for tuning us on in. We're on roll call on the YouTube side. Let's say hello next to Nucker, Philip Blair. How are you guys doing? The names look weird because I think you got to rechange them in YouTube. I think they reset all the names. Beat Heat Eat, welcome to SOR Chat. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you, Mama Catherine. And we're like 20 seconds to go here. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so check them on out. And we got like 5 seconds. Do me a favor, everybody. Watch this slow motion. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing, hauntingly awesome show for you tonight. From phantomsandmonsters.com, we have the man, the myth, the bearded legend, Lon Strickler, coming on up here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off with another creepy story. We're going to follow that one up with the UFO wizard, Josh Rutledge, hanging on out with us tonight. All right, let's get ready to bring the star of the show into tonight. Lon Strickler of phantomsandmonsters.com joins us to dive deep into the real encounters with cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal phenomena. From Mothman sightings and Dogman attacks to alien abductions and ghostly encounters, Lon reveals chilling firsthand reports and years of investigative experience, uncovering the truth behind these mysteries and legends. You can find all of his books at phantomsandmonsters.com or on Amazon. The man, the myth, and the legend all rolled into one. Lon Strickler, everybody. Lon Strickler. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Dave.
Yay. It's always good to have you here. You know, Lon, when I need a laugh, I know you're always there bringing it for me. So thank you very, very much.
No problem.
Doing what you do you still get excited about Halloween?
I have never been into Halloween. Seriously. I don't know why. It just really never floated my boat, I guess. So even though my birthday's around Halloween and that, you know, it was a big thing in my town where I lived at, it still is. And I don't know. You know, I was named after Lon Chaney Jr. and the Wolf Man. My dad was a big horror fan. a movie fan, but Halloween just never really did it for me. But and when I say that, people say, "Well, by what you do, I mean, why wouldn't Halloween interest you?" Well, it just doesn't. So that's just the way it is. I bear it.
I think that's quite okay.
Yeah.
I mean, do you buy a lot of the Halloween mythos?
I don't know. A lot of people take advantage of it, the spooky season thing, and it honestly, it's just another holiday, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the big allure is, but people do love it. So
And I'm actually going to agree with you on that. I'm not a big Halloween guy.
mhm.
I'm not. But there are a few things that I like about Halloween. Okay. I love watching kids in their costumes when I take my son out. Okay. My son's 12 years old this year. He's going to be some sort of goblin, I guess. And so I love going out around our area. The one thing, I don't know if this happens in bigger cities, but the one thing that happens in our town is, and I think it's cool, and I hope it continues. People don't care what age you are if you go up to their door trick or treating. I've seen babies 6 months old, and I've seen adults going up in costumes going trick or treating, and people in my town don't care.
Yeah.
I love it. And because there's always that one Karen or Carl out there that will say, "Aren't you too old to trick or treat?" Bring them on. Bring them on. Teenagers, adults, don't care. It's let people have some innocence for once. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I live in an area. There's several towns that are together, but we got about 20,000 people living here. But it's always been big here, and in fact, people probably decorate outside more for Halloween than they do for Christmas.
Yeah, and I love the decorations that people do. And I'm not going to tell you all what I'm going to be dressed up as for Halloween this year. You'll have to wait till Halloween to figure that out. Okay, but usually I'm not a costume guy, but this one I just decided to go for it. I really did. But nonetheless, I mean, I think the one pet peeve that I have heading into Halloween season is it makes everybody a tarot card reader, a psychic, or a paranormal investigator. You get all these people who kind of come out of the woodwork and, they're going to tell you how it is on the other side. And only if they knew how dangerous it was.
Yeah, you do get a lot of that. I do too. I mean, for whatever reason, some of the weirder things do pop up this time of year. And I don't know why that is. I guess people just figure that it's the season and, they got more insight than they normally do. And they just run with it. And unfortunately, some people get in trouble. Honestly, and I think I've told you this before. When I have been working with people for years, as far as infestations and attachments and hauntings and the whole 9 yards, I would say that over 50% of the people I have dealt with who have had those problems got them from not protecting themselves and going out on a ghost hunt or something to that effect and getting in trouble and bringing something home, letting something attach to them. It happened all the time.
I would agree with you there. I totally would agree with you there. And what's the worst thing you've seen from people just dabbling?
I think the worst thing people do is invite it. Basically, say they'll go into a cemetery and start evoking something and not protect themselves the way they should, challenge the energy. You're never going to find anything good in a cemetery. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. You're just not going to find it. And it's in other places as well. But, they go into a location that's known to be haunted, that's known to attract these malevolent energies, and something attaches to them, and then they wonder what they did, or wonder what happened, or why when they got home things started acting up. Yeah, it happens. And but I think that's the worst thing, challenging the entity or the spirit or the energy.
The thing is, people do it so innocently.
Yeah.
They really don't know what's going on, do they?
No. Yeah, they see it on TV. They think it's a big deal on TV, because on TV every episode has something happen, or they wouldn't be on TV. And the advertisers and the producers expect that, and that gives people false impressions. And unfortunately, they think, well, they can do it on TV. Hell, I can do it too. So that's what they end up doing.
Do you find though that this time of year does bring in some people who do have an interest in investigating and learning about monsters and cryptids?
Sure. Yeah, it's part of the season. It's part of everything. And, people want to be involved. They want to learn more. I think they get more interest this time of year. They're looking for entertainment on YouTube or on TV, and these shows are available to them. And they go for it, and they think there's an opportunity where they could do the same thing. And then they're asking questions and such. First thing I always tell them is, don't do it unless you're protecting yourself, or what you got any idea what you're really supposed to be doing or not doing. And that's what I tell everybody. I don't recommend it. Honestly, I wouldn't even fathom going out on a investigation unless there was one person at least that had intuitive ability or had some type of psychic ability to where they could notice danger and warn. Not having that, I think you're just really looking for an issue.
Scariest story someone has ever told you after dabbling in the paranormal when they weren't prepared, pardon me.
There have been a few. I'd say, a couple of them are pretty similar, but basically these are investigators or people that thought they were investigators would go out into a cemetery, and they pick up an attachment, especially up in the New England area where some of those older cemeteries are. And I have noticed a lot of that up in some of the older cemeteries, where they would go in, think they're going to evoke something, and man, they get home and things start happening. I think the worst case was when an individual had done that, and they thought that they could take care of the situation, and they ended up creating a how would I want to say this? Creating something that did some physical harm to them, almost like I don't know. I hate to say, go into, being some type of assault, but sexual assault and such like that. And it has happened. I've been on several cases where maybe an incubus or a succubus would basically create or manifest and just turn their life into a living hell. And it does happen.
Talk about the incubus and succubuses, because, I think outside of my ex-mother-in-law, I don't know if there's any living right now.
Many times people that get involved with the occult or try to do something, divination of some type, to rid themselves of an entity or an energy. They will go to the dark side to try to do that. And when they do, they invite something that they really shouldn't. And I'm not saying it's a demon or anything like that, but it's a malevolent energy that takes advantage of the situation. Happens mostly, I'll be honest, happens mostly to women who will accidentally invoke an incubus who literally assaults them. I have probably done about a dozen cases of that over the years. They invite them right into their home.
How do you know if you're dealing with a succubus or an incubus?
Well, the damage that's done, the bruising, the manifestations. Oh, it's terrible. I mean, and the real emotion and sorrow that it causes. That they come to you at a point where they're just throwing up their hands and don't know what to do. Many of them are married and their spouses don't understand it. Their family doesn't understand it, and it just snowballs and it gets worse and worse. It never gets better until someone comes in there and tries to tamp down the bad energy, try to move this thing to wherever it's going to be safe for your client. Because honestly, it's just going to move on somewhere else. It's almost like a poltergeist will do the same thing, or a shadow person. You can't really get rid of them, but you can instruct the victim on how to lessen the energy, how to keep distance from the being, and it'll eventually move on. But unfortunately, it's going to go to somebody else.
You mentioned that you can't clear them.
No.
How come you can't clear them?
Because there's no place for them to go. I mean, if you want, you talk about clearing something to another level where the angels are a being, a helper or God comes to help you remove. They just won't do that. And they won't leave because they're an energy. They've got free will. They'll just move on to another location where they're going to feel comfortable and bother somebody else. That's just what they do. And we really have never found a real solution to these type of things. It's just something that it cannot be cleared. It can lessen itself. It can lessen the activity, but more times than not, it'll come back many times worse than it was originally.
How do you have to invite it in? Much like they say that, a vampire can't come into your home unless you invite it in.
Yeah, it's usually because of invite, doing something, some type of spell work or some type of invocation or something to that degree. Divination will do it. Candle magic can do it. Even tarot and Ouija can do it. But yeah, it's got to be invited somehow. And people that do this just don't have any idea of what they're doing, and until it's too late.
Right. I mean, that's just creepy, though. The fact that can even happen.
Yeah. But it does happen.
I can see that. I can totally see that. For you, as you have heard so many stories, we've got about 5 minutes to go here. We hear about people jumping on the Ouija boards. I know you're not a big fan of Ouija boards. We hear people jumping on Ouija boards at this time of the year. Scariest story that has ever come into Phantoms and Monsters about a Ouija board?
Probably one that I experienced personally. I was in high school, and I was at a party at a friend's house. They had a whole bunch of people there, people from other schools who I didn't even know. And I was sitting on the sofa, and I was talking to somebody. The coffee table in front of me, they had a Ouija board set up, and they were just playing around with the Ouija board. And as we were sitting there, I noticed the guy across the way from me was staring at me. and he had this real evil, mean look to him, and I didn't know what I was, what was going on. And after about 5 minutes or so, he got up and literally jumped over the coffee table at me and grabbed me by the throat. After a couple of my friends grabbed him and took him off of me, he calmed down. I mean, I wasn't mad at him, but at the time, I was wondering, did the Ouija board have anything to do with it or anything else? Well, they stopped playing on the Ouija board. They got up and we were going over, a bunch of us went over to the bar. This was in a basement of a club room. We went over to the bar to sit and talk. This guy, I don't even know where he went. I think he probably left because I don't remember seeing him the rest of the night. But anyway, we were standing over there by the bar, and I heard a girl scream, and we looked over by the coffee table, and right by the Ouija board, and the planchette for the Ouija board was levitating in the air about 3 foot. And we just stood there watching this thing for a couple seconds, and suddenly this thing slammed down on the board and just broke into several pieces. That was it. Party over. Everybody was running up the stairs to get out of there that night.
No kidding.
Yep.
What goes through your mind when you're witnessing something like that?
I don't know what I was thinking. I was shocked. I was probably about 17 at the time. It was my last year in high school. So I didn't know what to think. I had never seen anything like that before. And I don't think me being there had anything to do with it or my abilities and such, but it was something that I never forgot. And actually when I looked back and started inquiring about some of the people who were there that night, a lot of them did not have good futures. Several of them passed away, very young. Some had misfortune. Some ended up in prison, which in my town was very rare. I mean, it was a very conservative town, very straight-laced town. And I know many of the people now who are grown up, and they're just like, they became their parents. So they're just as straight laced as they were, even though you never thought that when they were in high school. But some of them had some really bad times after that.
90 seconds to go. A lot of people will say, well, Ouija board is just a game, Lon. You can buy it. Parker Brothers still makes them.
Well, my dad used to sell them. My dad had a hobby shop. We had a hobby shop when I was younger. It was our business for about 75 years, and we used to sell all kinds of different stuff. But my dad used to sell Ouija boards. He had Ouija boards there to sell. He sold a lot of them. And we used to hear a lot of stories coming about people who bought one.
No kidding. Why do you think there's so many creepy stories about it? Is it just people not playing with them properly, or what?
I don't know what it is about it. I think when they're brand new, I think they need seasoning. I think they do hang on to energy. That's why when I'm around old handmade Ouija boards, I can always feel the energy coming off of them. It just disturbs me. It really does. And the one thing that I do suggest to people who talk to me about this is to try to cleanse the energy away from it. And there's several ways of doing it. I mean, almost like when you clear crystals. I mean, some people use salt, some people use moonlight, sunlight, all kinds of different things. I have found that using salt probably is the best thing to do. But honestly, I've never really actually done it. And but I've talked to other people who said that's what they've used.
Lon Strickler, phantomsandmonsters.com. When we come back, we're going to learn about the night crawlers. What are they? And why are they so creepy in MC Hammer pants? We'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear. Dirty Filth, that's a nice use of the color chartreuse. You know, but before I even knew the Mandela effect was a thing, going back about 25 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I went and bought a bunch of fishing gear. And I was showing my mom the color chartreuse.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "That's not chartreuse. Chartreuse is like a flat red, flat dark red." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's green." She's like, "No, it's red." Hold on.
It's a greenish yellow. Now, I don't know. I don't know how fish see it. They may see it as a red. I don't know. But I mean, so many lures are use that chartreuse color, and it seems to be very effective.
Yeah, chartreuse, the chartreuse red, okay, is let me bring it up here. This is what my mom thought chartreuse the color was to her. Hold on. Is that it? Yeah, there it is. Right there. Yeah. But this is going back like 25 years ago.
I guess you could kind of relate that to the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
I had never seen that before. I'd never heard of that before.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom swore it was red.
Huh.
And then even when I showed her the package, because up here, when you fish the rivers, you fish with wool.
Right.
So you tie wool onto your hook, and the coho love it. And she's like, "That's not chartreuse. Chartreuse is red." Yeah. It's almost like a puce, which there's a word that isn't used enough. George, if you're listening, can we have puce as the password one night, please? Can you do that for me?
It's a word I don't normally use.
There's some good words out there that just aren't used enough anymore. We still in extra innings here? God. Are we in the 12th now? Top of the 12th.
They still in extra innings?
Yeah. The Jays are no out runner on first. Top of the 12th. They have no remaining players on their bench to use. They've used all their players up.
Mm.
I got to go to Sportsnet. All right, live tracker. Let's do this. Make sure this is muted. Last thing you know, all these sports websites, they have these pop-up ads, and no matter what you do, they play noise.
Yeah.
All right, we got about a minute and a bit. Use my favorite, my baseball voice. And here we are in the top of the 12th inning, tied 5-5 in the World Series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Dodgers. because you have to have that high pitched nasal sound to be a baseball
Mhm.
broadcaster, right?
Yep.
When you get a baseball broadcasting voice that's deep and powerful, doesn't sound the same as that. Well, here we go. Dave Snyder or Dan Snyder at the plate right now. He's sitting with a count of 1-2. And here comes the fastball coming down the pike. Thank you to Kelly or Kitty and T-Bone for the gift of a membership. Thank you very much, everybody. We have 5 seconds. Second half of the bottom of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. This is the Mighty SOR. And our guest is Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com. We're going to get into it momentarily, but first we want to remind all of you, if you've missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here he is, Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com, hanging on out with us as we all prepare for Halloween and All Hallows Eve. This is the night when all the creatures and critters will come on out asking for a treat or two, and Lon is no different. He's got his costume picked up, going to be looking like John Travolta from back in the days of the 70s. Yes, he is. He's got his sideburns ready. Lon, welcome back.
Good to be back, Dave.
I know sometimes you want to reach through the screen and just smack me.
No, that's all right. I'm good to go.
All right, let's get right to it. One of the stories that I have seen popping up recently again is the night crawlers. Now, for many people trying to figure out what the hell is a night crawler, imagine, let's go back to about 1991, 92, maybe 93. MC Hammer comes out with Can't Touch This. Do, 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 do. Can't touch this. And he's wearing them giant baggy pants. Well, imagine those pants being like 5-6 feet tall with nothing, no body, just pants. What the hell is going on with these things, Lon?
I don't know what to think about them. I think most people think that they're some type of extraterrestrial or interdimensional being. I don't know. There are a lot of theories. There's a lot of folklore theories, misidentification, hoaxes, thought formations. There's all kinds of theories. But honestly, it's very unique. There's no doubt about that. And there have been a fair number of sightings over the years. Of course, this started back in, I think, what was it, 2007, I think, with the footage up in Fresno, where some guy, I forget what his name was, but he saw these things in his yard. It got picked up on a camera, on a security camera. And then after that, in 2011, there were several sightings in Yosemite National Park. I think, yeah, in certain areas of Yosemite. In fact, I sent you an account that happened in Yosemite as well. So there have been other sightings. Indiana seems to be a state where there have been several sightings over the years. There was one in Billings, Montana. There was one in Poland. Oh, God, where else? There have been a few sightings. But do we know what they are? We have no idea what they are.
When you first look at them, you think CGI, you think something that this would be relatively easy to try and make, grab a couple of stilts and maybe tie them to a little bit of a motor, because that's kind of how they are running around right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a lot of people that thought it was CGI. The guy's name was Jose. I remember that. And he had a security camera. And the reason why he set it up was his dogs were barking at something at night on a couple of previous nights. And what he found in the footage, and I sent you some pictures of it, was a pale, ultra leggy figure crossing the yard. And I knew someone who was an investigator in Fresno, and he went out there that next day after it was posted and talked to the guy. And I think the investigator's name is Jeff Gonzalez, by the way. And he talked to him and he saw the original footage. I don't know where the footage was sent to. I don't know if it was sent to MUFON or whoever it was sent to, but I know it got, went viral very quickly. And there were no sightings, I don't believe, until they started showing up in Yosemite. And after that, every once in a while, one will be seen. And then we got a couple sightings in the last 10 years or so in Indiana. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's an enigma, no doubt about it. But I have no idea what it is.
Here's one of the things, because the reason why I like this creature, okay, like I could be buddies with this creature as much as it freaks me out. And here's the reason why. I like these creatures, Lon, that come around and then disappear for a few years or months and then come around again at some other place that you wouldn't expect it, then disappear again. A lot of people would say, well, that's because they're easy to hoax or whatever. But I think there's something to that maybe they're not from here, or just, take some time to, go through the dimensional zone or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of equated a lot to the Mothman in a way, because I believe now that the Mothman is interdimensional or ultra terrestrial of some type. Of course, it hasn't been seen as much as the Mothman, but it's one of those strange entities that just seems to, I don't know, spur up our feelings from certain people. I mean, cryptid fans worldwide are just really into this thing. And I have found people all over the world who have interested in it. But there's really no new footage and no physical evidence. It's a mystery. And if it is a clever hoax, then they did a good job of it. But yeah, it's one of those things that just is very rarely seen.
The last sighting was when that you know of?
I think, let me check here real quick. I think it was 2011. No, the one in Indiana, I don't have the date listed in what I sent you, but I believe I received that in 2015. So it's been, what, 10 years ago?
Right.
There was another one. There was a recent one seen in Yosemite in 2022. And I sent that to you. That was kind of unusual. Then 2 Canadian guys in 2018 saw it down in Cuba.
Yeah, you can't be trusting them Canadians,
Huh?
You can't be trusting them Canadians.
So I sent that to you. So yeah, I mean, when you read it and whatever, I mean, let people think what they want. But that's probably the three cases that I have received that I thought were pretty substantial.
You've heard of many creatures. I mean, we've seen a lot of these creatures over the years, like the frogmen of Ohio, the night crawlers, and many others, where literally they just arrive and then they disappear. just as quickly as they came.
Hmm.
Where do you think these creatures go? Because I think part of the illegitimacy of a lot of these, Lon, is the fact that they are seen so infrequently, or they are seen once, never to be seen again. And you
Yeah.
wonder, how much did the person have to drink? What else were they on? Were they having a bad day? Were they stressed out? There's a lot that goes into that.
I looked at a list of cryptids with these strange monikers, names to them, even humanoids. And I think the list probably had like 300 listed. I would say half of those are probably either hoaxes or something that just was imagined. But as time has gone on, eventually when something else pops up, then you got to kind of put it into another category that maybe it is something that's real. But yeah, there are a lot of things out there that people have seen or reported on or not seen that are definitely not real. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But this thing here, this nightcrawler, it's bizarre. And how many sightings have we had? I don't know. How many don't get reported? I think I'd be safe to say there are maybe 2 or 3 dozen that have been seen. But who knows?
Are they usually only seen at night?
No, the one I sent you was seen during the day. The one in Yosemite, and I think the one in Cuba, one in Cuba is at night. Yeah, so they're mostly seen at night.
I guess the good part about it is you can outrun them.
Yeah, they're not quick.
So going back to the Fresno sighting, how long do these sightings last?
That footage, the original footage, this thing took about a minute or two to cross the yard. It wasn't quick, but it came from one side of the yard to the other, got picked up on the camera. Then they never saw it again. Not there anyway. And the one that was recorded in Yosemite, there were 2 of them.
Right.
So
Well, let's read a story from Indiana here.
Okay.
Says, I have quite the story for you if you're interested. Are you familiar with the cryptid known as the Fresno alien or the Nightcrawler? I've been fascinated by these things, and I've found little sticks in my yard. I started messing with a bit, planting it in the grounds. It turned it into something like a totem or effigy dedicated to these beings, since they've been seen in various cities. The first video was taken in a parking lot in Fresno. A few months passed after I planted the stick, and I kept envisioning with that intention the possibility of meeting one of these beings while walking around the city. One night, I returned to my buddy's house, changed clothes, and went outside to help my brother work on his car. Getting the gas tank in was really tough, but anyway, while we were standing outside smoking a cigarette, the night was utterly silent. Suddenly, I heard leaves crunching in the trees about half a block away from my house. I looked over and saw a black figure with white feet taking slow steps. Then it walked behind a tree, and I lost sight of it. My instincts kicked in, and I thought, what the hell? I went back to talking to my brother, but then I heard the leaves crunching again. This figure, which I would estimate to be about a foot shorter than me, and I'm 6'4", was solid black with white feet and a little bit of blue on its head. It also had a waving pattern on the bottom of its legs. It took slow, direct steps towards me and then stopped. I was scared. So I turned to my brother and said, dude, someone is standing over there in those trees. He started to wince a little and said, yeah, I don't see anything. At this point, I began to feel anxious. My first instinct was to run to the gate and shut it, but I kept getting this intuitive feeling like a punch to the back of the head that I should grab the staff that I made and talk to the figure. I ignored the feeling and I went over to shut the gate instead. The entity then started to walk away as if to say, fine, you don't want to come play? Forget it. What walked away definitely fit the description of the night crawler, with long legs that bent both ways. Honestly, I was so startled when I saw it that I almost crapped my pants. Clarify, all the night crawlers I've ever seen have been white. In fact, the 3 videos I've seen featured white figures, even when there were 2 in the same spot. But this one had different colors. My brother didn't see it, and he didn't hear the footsteps either. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know what he saw.
But here's the thing, though, that I would say about that story. And it is a little choppy because he says he's going to his buddy's house, but then he's working at his house with his brother.
Right.
So I'm a little confused by that. But if he saw what he saw, he summoned that in.
He may have. He may have. Yeah, I mean, you talk about intention, people using intention to draw things. Yeah, maybe this being could pick up on him and showed up.
Could be. Could be. I mean, but there is a danger in that. I mean, when you're conjuring up spirits or aliens, you have to be able to know what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it, because intention is everything.
Absolutely.
You know? My goodness. That just scares the daylights out of me. But the colors on this, in your opinion, do you think this guy's telling the truth?
I think he probably is, but I think he may have misinterpreted what he was looking at. Maybe he was looking at an entity or a spirit. I don't know, as opposed to, because he really didn't define the pant-like look, or what people normally see. And the fact that it was different colors, though I have heard people seeing black ones before, but they always had that pants look to it. Yeah, no head, no body, just big long pants.
I'm still trying to figure out what they are, because I mean, they're not, for people who look, they don't have arms, they don't have torsos, they don't seem to have heads, except like a ghostly head, like fabric wrapped over top.
Mm-hmm.
Their balance is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're definitely not going to want to draft this person for your basketball or football team. Like, they're just awkward. A creature like that, where do you think it comes from?
Well, the fact that it's not seen that much, it's probably some type of has some type of supernatural ability to move in and out. I mean, of course, we don't know what these beings or what cryptids or extraterrestrials or whatever you want to call them are, what actual abilities they do have, but apparently, just by eliminating the possibilities, I would say there's something very supernatural about it, and that they're able to move into our earth plane from wherever they come from.
Do you think this is more an alien creature or a dimensional creature?
Well, that could be both. I mean, it could be an alien and be dimensional. I mean, who's to say that aliens don't live on another earth plane? There's so many. There's supposedly 7 to 11 dimensions other than our dimension, a linear dimension. Maybe these alien beings reside on those as well. Who knows?
5 minutes to go before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com is our guest tonight. Talking about the night crawlers, these scary little buggers. Oh, I mean, their creep factor is just huge. So let's go to another story. In late summer of 2022, I had the opportunity to hike Half Dome in Yosemite National Park. Near the end of my hike, I had a rather strange encounter. I was descending the John Muir Trail around 6 p.m. It was still light out when I crossed the Vernal Falls Bridge. I had a clear view of the massive granite cliffs below Washburn Point when I noticed an unusual object nestled in the alcove about halfway up the 1,000-foot tall cliffside. The object was very bright white in color, whiter than any of the natural occurring patterns on the rock, and it was shaped like two large billowy pant legs, think MC Hammer pants, connected at the top by an odd white shape where the legs met. The object didn't appear to be made of any fabric, as it didn't move or ripple in the high winds, which is what you would expect from fabric. It also is worth noting that this was in September, so there was no snow on the mountains yet. It was far away, but I estimated its height to be around 7 or 8 feet. I paused my descent to stare at it for a moment when another hiker passed by and stopped to talk. I pointed out the white object on the cliffside and asked her if she saw that thing. Immediately, she pointed up at the object and said, "Yeah, that thing looks like a kid in a white bath towel. Were you looking at that when I saw you stop?" So that the mountains we're looking at is enormous. It was big enough to fill your entire field of view from where we were standing. Out of all of that, she knew exactly where I was looking at it even before I even said anything. The strange white pants-like object on the cliff. She described it as looking like a child wrapped in a towel, likely because of the gap between the white pant legs, made it appear as if it was a white object surrounded a darker one, the darker being the same color as the rest of the recessed alcove in the cliff. I asked her if she had ever heard of the Fresno nightcrawler, to which she replied that she hadn't. As I explained it to her what they look like, she continued to stare at the object on the cliffside and declared, "That's exactly what I'm looking at." As we descended farther down the trail, I kept looking back at the object from different angles. Each time, the perspective shifted in a way that confirmed it was something solid with no markings on the granite. I suspect it could have been a strange foreign object that was placed up there, or perhaps an optical illusion created by a particularly stark white piece of granite. Still, it was eerie how closely it matched the nightcrawler footage captured on security or trail cameras. Your thoughts, Lon?
Again, it could have been something natural, but the fact that they both saw it, and then when he described it as he did, she thought that it very well could be that as well. I don't know if they saw any movement at all in it. I don't think they did, but why would that thing be up there?
Home? Portal?
Well, did it manifest there by accident or for some reason? I don't know. The fact that it was in Yosemite also I thought was pretty interesting because there had been several sightings in Yosemite.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, there have been footage in Yosemite as well. That footage where you see the two night crawlers walking down the hillside,
Right.
that was from Yosemite.
Oh, I always get that one in Fresno mixed up.
No, the one in Fresno was a single being. I didn't have that footage, but it was a single being, and it was kind of a bluish background to it, like it came off of like an old trail cam.
Well,
yeah,
we're coming close to a break here. And when we return from the break, we're going to get into another story about the pale crawlers, night crawlers, whatever the heck these things are, whatever you want to call them. You know, I'm absolutely thrilled by these MC Hammer pant type creatures. You could, if you want to see the videos of them, you could go on YouTube and just Google Fresno night crawlers to see what we're looking at here during the break. And you'll be like, oh my God, Really? These things exist? Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. This is Spaced Out Radio. Lon Strickler's Strange Days continues right after this. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. Five heading to the bottom of the 13th. That's a marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to feel that one.
Yes, they will. Wasted all your pitchers, all your players.
Yeah.
You got to do it all tomorrow for game 4.
All the stress and everything is going to hit them. I mean,
oh, yeah.
They will not be very good tomorrow. I mean, I don't think they're playing tomorrow, but they're not going to be in very good shape.
Well, let's get it over to Dirty Filth here for a little bit. Dirty. Hello, Dirty.
Dave. Hello, Dave. Hello, Lon.
I'll be right back.
Bye, Dave. Bye, Lon. Don't worry, everybody. I've got you covered. So, if anybody hasn't noticed, this is Lady Nightcrawler. She makes her own clothes. She works at the animal shelter in the city. And she also DJs at the Liquid Lounge on the weekends. She's absolutely adorable. Anyways. Oh, hello, new Spaced Out Radio people as well. And, oh yes, it is I in the house. Hey, that rhymes. If I ever was ever a DJ, there you go. I got my DJ name of some sort, but I'm not a DJ. I leave music to the professionals. I just draw cartoons. This cartoon in particular is about the space Sprogs, because they're going on a brand new mission, the Sprogs. They have to go and rescue a dark elf. That's all I can tell you, because Sergeant Whiskey won't let me tell you more about the dangerous mission that the Gremlin and Gargoyle are going on. The Sprogs. So yes. Almost done here. I had to add a couple little extra detail guys in there. But I hope everyone's... Well, you know, Paramarv, it is difficult for the Nightcrawlers to do things without hands. I mean, do you know how difficult it is for Nightcrawler to open up jars of pickles for Lady Nightcrawler when all he has is pointy little feet? I have a cartoon of that somewhere, actually. I've pretty much got a cartoon for just about every cryptid type of thing you could imagine. Just a gigantic stack of them. Oh, speaking of, since we got Lon Strickler on the show here today, this is good. So I put out my second book, Cryptid Cartoons, Volume 2. And in this book, there's a picture of our guest, Mr. Lon Strickler. And he has the original drawing as well. It's in here somewhere. There's a lot of pages. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, no, that's the level. That's the Loveland Frogman. But here, look at this. Here we got Lon Strickler being chased down by a Mothman. Hilarious. He's even got his 40-inch shirt on. Yes. If you want to buy the book, just go to Amazon, plug in Cryptid Cartoons, Volume 2 by Klaus Meidner. Yes. And there's a first book as well, and I'm working on a third one, but there's a lot of writing to do. And I'm not really good. I'm not the best at writing. It's just something I'm going to have to get better at, so. Hey, Lon, I was showing off the picture of you getting chased by the Mothman. Yeah, see? There you are, Lon. You got the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lon's got the original framed. I just love sharing my artwork with people. Excellent. These are the Sprogs. They're on a secret mission. They have to go rescue a dark elf. and they're starting at the space bar, which isn't going to help them because 32 squared, which is he's a TV, but he thinks he's a Soviet satellite. Despite on the back of him, it says it was manufactured in Chicago in 1967. So yeah, everybody just lets it slide because he's got good prices for chicken wings and beers at the space bar. But the Sprogs are going there to look for a dark elf, and they're all equipped for everything. I mean, look at he's got his pike and his chainmail and a little bit of plate armor there.
It's pretty cool.
Hello, Dave.
Yes, Dirty. It's awesome.
Yes. I got to go give the cat snacks now. It's very important.
You're going to go feed the kitties?
Yes.
Could you give them one treat extra from us here?
One for everybody here? Deal. That's like 800 snacks. Okay, have a good night.
Just one for each kitty from all of us at SOR.
I can do that.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, have a good night.
Gotta love dirty filth. All right. We got 30 seconds, Lon.
Okay.
Check out the baseball game here. No, we're still tied. Bottom 13th, 1 out. Dodgers have a runner on third.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. All right. Thank you to Kitty and T-Bone for the super chat and the gifting of a membership. And here we go. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hobbled ahoy. Hobbled ahoy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com. You can find all of his books on his site where he gets thousands upon thousands of stories each and every year from people just like you and me who've seen creatures that should not exist, yet here we are. People having these sightings and encounters that don't make sense. The website, once again, phantomsandmonsters.com. Lon, welcome back.
Always good to be with you, Dave.
For people just tuning in, we're talking about the night crawlers. I mean, these are a weird looking creature, man. They look like a giant pair of pants with no head, no body, no arms. I mean, it's just ridiculous, Lon, how these things even exist.
Yeah. They still have that humanoid type form that many of us see with alien life, but still, we don't know what the hell they are.
So weird. Well, let's read another encounter here. 2 Canadian guys had this happen. It's 2018. A friend and I traveled to Cuba on vacation. It was New Year's Day around 2 a.m. when the incident occurred. After a night of drinking and dancing, we decided to walk along the beach. It was nearly pitch black outside, and we were strolling along the shore, talking and gazing at the stars. Suddenly, my friend called my name and told me to look down the coast. What we saw was a radiantly glowing white figure, about 200 meters away. It had long legs and a head and stood approximately 2.5 meters tall, so about 6 feet, just over 6 feet. At the time, I didn't know it was called the Fresno Nightcrawler, but that's what came to mind first. My friend said that before I noticed, the figure was standing there. For a moment, it appeared to step into the water, completely submerged, and then step back onto the beach. We stared at it for a few moments, and then it began to take slow steps towards us. Frightened, we ran back to our hotel room without looking back. We were both shaken and couldn't sleep for most of the night. In the following days, we asked other guests at the hotel and employees about what we had seen. We even visited the nearest city and asked several locals, but no one knew anything about it or could even offer explanations. We returned to the beach several nights around the same time, but we never saw the entity again. Unfortunately, we were so frightened that neither of us thought of taking out our phones to capture any photos or videos. Does anybody really have a clue of what this could have been? I've researched Cuban folklore and cryptid sightings, but have never found anything similar.
Yeah, I don't know what they saw. They could have seen almost anything. I mean, could have been, could have been a spirit or something.
Here's the thing with it, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to talk about this because we've talked about this many a times on this show over the years. Because everybody's like, well, if that happened to me, I would bring out my phone. I would take pictures or I would take video.
Yeah.
And these people, this person who wrote this to you actually admitted that there was just no way that they could have done that because they were too scared. They were too scared to do that. And fear makes you lose all reality of what to do.
I hear it all the time. I get so many comments about people seeing the Mothman in Chicago or the winged humanoid in Chicago and not taking a photograph. And I try to explain to them, the shock of seeing something like that, being frightened, and then if it's a quick sighting, taking the phone out and focusing this thing, and many times it's at night, and focusing it on the creature or the being. I can understand that. I mean, I can understand why people don't get photographs of these things.
It really does show that it's easy to be brave when you're not put in that situation.
Sure.
So, out of all the reports that you have taken over the years, how many of them actually have some sort of evidence?
Very few. Very few. I would say less than 1%.
Let's go to Paramarv. Lon, it seems like forever since I heard anything of the Chupacabra report. Have you heard of any semi-credible reports? If so, when, where? A little bit off topic, but
I have had a couple. Nothing major. The report, the last report I got came out of Puerto Rico, which is where a lot of these Chupacabra sightings come from. I don't remember the full details, but I tell you what, if you want to hear about some of those, I'll do it the next time I come on, because there's a lot of people out there who are really into the Chupacabras. So we can do that.
yeah, those are weird.
Yeah. And it's hard to tell what if they're probably not a natural creature, but some of the descriptions are so different. I mean, I think people perceive them differently. Maybe they're looking at the same thing, but perception-wise, I think there's, there are some differences. I think most people who are into the Chupacabras think they're alien beings. But the fact that people say they see them in other places other than Puerto Rico, where most of the sightings have originated and where most of the stories originated from, I don't know what they're seeing. Is it some type of hybrid creature? It could be. This whole thing with the Chupacabras and the American Midwest and Southwest, I think those are just hybrids. people, other names for them are blue dogs and something. I think those are a mix of some type of either domesticated dog and maybe a Mexican wolf or something. But, they have very bluish type skin, very short hair. Sometimes they even look like they're bald. So I don't know. But I don't think they're chupacabras.
Let's go to another story here. I think we got one more.
I don't have any more there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was just some notes I had.
Oh, okay. So for our audience, Lon sets me up with these stories before every show. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. I had a friend of mine named Sam. We went out yesterday and into the forest, and yeah, it was snowing out. How nice is that? Snow already.
Yeah.
It's not even December yet. But he asked me a question today because we were kind of outside looking at the mountains, and when I saw him today, and he's like, what other weird cryptids are around our area? He goes, never mind Sasquatch and UFOs. So we kind of looked around the mountains, and I'm like, okay, that mountain over there is where the Dogman are. We have little people. We have, what I call forest dwellers. We have many other creatures around here. First Nations people claim they have seen what they call the green men.
Mm-hmm.
Heard of them?
Mm-hmm.
Let's explain what the green men are.
I have heard of the green men. I don't know exactly what they're interpreted as. Are they spiritual? Are they actual humanoids? I don't know which tribes they are, but I have heard of it.
From what I have heard from certain First Nation people who've had encounters or heard the legends, is that you're not supposed to go out at night around the forest because the green men will grab you. Now, I've heard them described as almost like alien grays, but with green skin. I've heard them as reptilians.
Okay.
What's your thoughts?
I don't know. Maybe it could be something natural or something extraterrestrial. I'll have to look into that. I'm kind of interested myself what they're actually, if it's something that's actually tied into their religion, their lore, or is it just, some type of legend?
Just kind of looking at this up. These creatures, though, they do range in height from about 4 feet up to 6-7 feet tall.
Yeah, there are a lot of different beings in a lot of the First Nations lore and religion. The Ojibwe, they have, I forget what the name. It's a long name, but it's almost like these little men that are seen in the fern forest, as well. And of course, I think there are other tribes and other nations where they have these type of beings. Maybe almost like an
when you look at creatures like this, because this is another one of those one-off beings like the Nightcrawler.
Right.
You never hear of them getting close to people.
No.
You have people witnessing them, but you never get close to them actually. People having like close encounters, say within 40, 50 feet, like a Bigfoot or a Dogman.
Right.
They're always seen at a distance.
Yeah, is it like a fae type of creature? I don't know. We hear of all kinds of crazy descriptions of fae-like beings or fairies, maybe, or goblins, or whatever you want to call them. I mean, there's so many and so many cultures. It's kind of hard to distinguish them from other things in other areas. But I don't know. I don't know what they are.
Let's go to a question from Jay here for a second. Have you ever come across any modern day recent reports of the Blemmeyes? They are like night crawlers, but with arms too. It's like they have shoulders, but no head. The head seems to be, and the face seem to be built into the torso.
I don't think I've ever remember encountering any or hearing something like that or by that name.
They are a mythical creature from, it looks like Greek type of,
Okay.
yeah, Greek culture.
Well, that would be understandable because they've got so many of them in the Greek culture. I mean, no, but
Now-
I don't think
now
I've
all
ever
the-
had a report like them.
Now all of a sudden you're going to be flooded with reports of Blemmeyes.
Yeah, it'll happen. It really will.
How does that happen a lot?
It does happen. It does happen. Yeah.
That's weird.
It's funny. I have an example of that. About a couple of years ago, I had a report of a leshy, which is a forest spirit. Came out of Russia, actually. And I didn't know a whole lot about them. I had heard of them, but I never knew much about them. They're supposed to be protectors of the forest and the animals, and they retaliate against people who hurt animals and the wildlife and the fauna. But then I started getting a bunch of sighting reports, mostly over in Europe. I don't think I got any over here in North America, but they were mostly over in Europe and Asia. But yeah, it does happen. I mean, just like reptilian reports, I'll get one or not have any for a while, then all of a sudden I get a whole ton of them. So yeah, I think it does. I think it does happen. I mean, is this something that's subconscious and kind of goes out into the ether and draws the stories to you? I don't know.
Let's go to another question. This one coming from the Doug Shelby. Lon, as far as you can tell, does Mothman have bat-like wings or have feathers like a bird?
There have been various descriptions of these winged humanoids. Of course, the Mothman at Point Pleasant had like the moth wings, the butterfly wings, and it was a humanoid. Some of them had arms attached or detached from the wings, both cases, but the wing structure was very different. It was more like the gossamer wing, or a thicker wing, but it had the shape of a butterfly or a moth. The encounter I had in 1988, and the sightings for the most part in Chicago, are gargle or bat-like wings. But there also had been others that people would call an owlman with owl-like wings with feathers.
Right.
So there have been various sightings. And of course, when I started looking into the Chicago sightings, I never even imagined or even thought it would be anything close to what a Mothman would be. But of course, when you're looking into things like this, and you start talking to the press and the media, and they're trying to get attention, and they started equating it to the Mothman, and I went ahead and went along with it. Actually, because I didn't want to confuse people, I was calling it the Chicago Phantom, because the sightings were very similar to what I had at Camp Conewago here in Pennsylvania, and I was calling that the Conewago Phantom. So I used the Phantom word. Well, that went by the wayside because we didn't want to confuse people who were trying to send in reports.
Let's go to Shell here. Lon, why do Bigfoots crawl on their hands and feet like a spider? And is that similar to the way night crawlers creep? Are they Bigfoots or could they be something else? What is that?
We have had sightings where they do go down on all fours and literally crawl like a spider. I have received those type of sightings. Why they do it? Are they just trying to keep out of sight? I don't know. Are they related to anything else? Well, the night crawlers don't creep, but the pale crawlers, they do creep, the humanoids. Are they related to the Bigfoot? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe there's a relationship somewhere down the line, but I have heard both. I really have. I mean, I had a couple tell me years ago about a Bigfoot crossing a road, and I don't even forget where it was at, but it was literally on its hands and knees crawling.
We have 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break. This show is flying on by. Lon Strickler is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Lon, I want to ask you a personal question here before we get to more audience questions. As you know, I've been talking to you privately about the situation with Flight 21 because with Tim having to step back due to health reasons, Tim James, I got nobody to really go with. And I'm getting to that time of year where it's getting a little bit, cold and the snow could fly in that area at any time and start to accumulate, which would make it impossible for us to get there until probably April or May of next year.
Mm-hmm.
My question for you going into this is the momentum that Tim and I had going into there and the relationships that we were starting to build.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to change now that him and I haven't been there in a few weeks? I've been there I've been there twice since then. One to pick up the trail cameras, and I was there about a week and a bit ago with a buddy of mine, Mark.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Did you notice anything while you were out there recently? I mean, did you notice feel any energy or any changes or anything?
I know you in Mortal Kombat in our chat room, or Mortal Clown, pardon me,
Yeah.
in our chat room, have been kind of visiting this together.
Yeah.
And I will tell you guys this. Well, I guess I'll tell the public this. It didn't feel the same.
Okay.
It felt like they were there. Okay, because the phenomenon knows Mark. Mark has been there when strange things have happened many a times. But there was a hesitancy found in the forest, like, uh-oh, here we go again. And now we have to break in somebody new.
Mm-hmm. Well, the only thing I can say is, there was some consistency. I even picked up on that. And the fact that it has been changed again. I don't know. Until I actually do an RV and do what I do intuitively, I can't give you an answer, but I will do that. And if I do pick up on anything, I will let you know. It doesn't surprise me that it felt like that. Change always breeds some type of opposite reaction,
Right.
I think that may very well be what happened here. But what I will do is I will do some sessions and see what I pick up.
Yes.
And I will keep you informed. But because of the weather, and I can understand that, I don't know if I want to be going up there in the bad weather. It was eventually going to have to break sometime anyway. So this is just an opportunity for it to happen. Who knows how it's gonna continue on? But we'll see. I mean, I'll be as diligent as I can and see what I pick up on.
Well, we're gonna have to play it out because realistically, we don't have a choice, right?
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
I'm just trying to figure out what we could do in order to try and maintain momentum, because you just can't choose anybody to go with you into a place like that. The phenomenon literally needs to clear the person to say, okay, we'll allow this person to come up with you. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Lon Strickler, phantomsandmonsters.com continues after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right.
You know what I was thinking? The woman's name, the First Nations woman, what was her name? Dottie again? Was that what it was?
Lolly.
Huh?
Lolly.
Yeah, Lolly. Okay, I'm sorry. You may want to try to get her up there at least one day and see if she can pick up on anything and possibly do some cleansing.
I'm going to talk to her again here soon.
I think that would kind of I think there needs to be a cleansing to try to get everything on an even keel.
Yeah. Well, I have to go back this weekend.
Okay.
Because I do have my trail cameras up there.
Okay.
And I've actually got them. I've got one leading in towards the trail that goes to the gifting site, so we can see who comes up there.
Okay.
And I've also got one about 15 feet away from the gifting site.
Okay. Okay.
So one of the things we did on the words of Robin Haynes was that we told the creatures up there that this was for the animals to see who is walking by. Trying to not trick them, but
Yeah.
Is it your birthday?
Yes, it is.
When? Today?
Today.
Well, hold on a second here. Before we go any further.
I was dreading this. But go ahead. I know what you're going to do.
Oh, yeah. You know exactly what I'm going to do. Hold on. Let me pucker up the lips here a second, because I'm going to give you a big kiss here, big nuts. Ah.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Brett.
Oh, love you, mortal clown. Love you. Happy birthday to Lon. Happy birthday to Lon. Happy birthday, you cryptid motherfucker. Happy birthday to Lon. There you go.
Well, I can attest that I'm starting to feel the age now. So from this past year, I'm kind of feeling it. But
oh God,
yeah.
What are you now? 45?
67.
46?
67.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
With no sign of retirement left.
There's no retiring with what I do.
I hear you. All right, the count is 3 balls, 2 strikes here in the bottom of the 14th inning. T. Hernandez, 4 for 7 at the dish with 1 RBI as he gets on driving a single into left field.
You kind of do sound like Vince Scully.
I just wish I knew the baseball players better. They don't have the full names, they just have the last names on here. And here's the crack of the ball. There it is. Teoscar Hernandez singles into center field, advancing Max Muncy to second base. 2 on, 1 out. And we have Enrique Hernandez coming up to the dish right after this. He's 2 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. Oh, he's had a little bit of a tough time at the plate today with the Jays pitchers and the stress of this game going on right now. Oh, man. I could call baseball. I could totally call baseball. My pace isn't smooth. We got 30 seconds. I guess I should probably catch up in the chat room. So there. Make sure you put your questions in capital letters, peeps. Thank you very much. That was a good birthday song. Not gonna lie. Felt good. I feel good about that. Here we go. We're at the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are proud to bring you this great show that we call the Mighty SOR each and every night to you, live and entertaining throughout the night. Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com is our guest, and we're going to bring him on momentarily. But first, we want to remind everybody that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Lon Strickler, phantomsandmonsters.com is his website. You can get all of his books there or on Amazon. We're taking audience questions as we get more into the monsters of the night. Lon, welcome back.
Always good to be here, Dave.
I think so. As you start your 67th rotation around the sun, or 68th, or is it 58th or 48th or 38th?
I don't know. Yeah, it was, I guess 68 maybe, or 67.
Yeah, something like that. For all our listeners, it's Lon's birthday. He doesn't want me mentioning that, but this is my show. I can say what I want. Happy birthday from all of us, Lon. We love you, man.
I appreciate it.
All right. Let's move on here to some audience questions. Go to Derek here. Lon, do different cryptids tend to form patterns when they appear the most with certain times of the year, like fall, winter, spring, etc.?
You know, for the most part, I used to think so. But you know, as time has gone on, I really don't think it makes much of a difference. I really don't. I think, let's say, for instance, Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I mean, I think there are really indigenous beings in certain areas of North America and the world, and I think weather plays a part in what they do or how they react or how they're seen or whatever they do during the cold period as opposed to warm periods. But the beings, I believe, are interdimensional for the most part. I believe most cryptids are interdimensional. I don't think it really makes much difference. You know, when we were looking into the Chicago Mothman thing, that first year, all the sightings were in warm weather and it was starting to become fall. And we had a sighting in October, and then they stopped for about 2 months. So first thing we thought is, well, it's Chicago. It's the Chicagoland area. It's cold. It's snow. It's probably something they don't want to be a part of. But then all of a sudden we start getting sightings in the snow. And we're getting tracks, and we're getting all kinds of different things. People are seeing them as they're driving. Yeah, I don't really think overall there's much difference.
What about patterns of these creatures following the migratory patterns of animals?
I think some of them may. I think that, you know, people, and me living here where I do, I'm close to the Appalachian Trail, so I'm close to, people or talking to people who are going up and down the Appalachian Trail, especially in Virginia and Maryland and Pennsylvania. And people have noticed some that have seen these beings some of them do believe that they do move between ranges in the Appalachians, particularly Pennsylvania and down to Virginia, maybe into North Carolina, where they tend to be seen more in the southern areas, the southern Appalachians during the wintertime. But we honestly don't have that much proof other than anecdotal. So do they follow game? I think if they are migrating, it may be because of that they're following game. But I don't know that for sure.
I always wonder about, this is where the debate comes between flesh and blood or something etherical or mysterious about these creatures, Lon, because so many people believe that they may be one or the other or a combination of both, where they're still feeding off of deer and rabbits and other types of prey that are out there. I mean, do you think then that many of these creatures would follow weather patterns? Because that's like, giving an example, many animals like elk and caribou and moose, they go to higher elevations come the summertime to try and stay cooler. And in winter, it's vice versa.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. And, if there is a particular reason why they're showing up, let's say they are interdimensional and they are showing up, I think a big reason is because of food. I think, do they jump from one part of the country to another part of the country or the world because of feeding? Yeah, I think that's very possible. I think that's very possible.
Makes it an interesting story, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Stephen here. Lon, is there anywhere you can't or will not remote view?
I have run into problems when I'm RVing alien beings or something to believe to be alien beings, or that use some type of possible portal travel or moves off the Earth plane. That has happened. I've been pulled out of RVs where that has happened. But I think these type of beings, possibly interdimensional or possibly extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrials, I think a lot of times they can block. I think they become, when you get to the later stages, the later levels of RVing, particularly coordinate remote viewing, I think they pick up on it. I really do. Because we have had instances where we got to a certain phase and we got nothing. And that's with multiple viewers. So I think we can be blocked. Now, as far as not wanting to go there, no, I'd try anything. If I think it's safe enough, I'd do it. Look, I have had psychic attacks during RVs, and I've made amateur mistakes as far as not protecting myself during an RV. I do it now, though, and I have been injured. But as far as going to somewhere where I'd be fearful of doing it, a particular situation, I guess it depends on the situation. If we're talking about an instant or instances where there may be some danger involved, sure, I'm gonna be hesitant, but I'm gonna change what I do, to a degree to fit the situation. I'm gonna try and make it as safe as possible.
What about places like Area 51 or Wright-Patterson Air Force Base?
Well, I've never done that. I did I did try an RV at Roswell many years ago, and I even talked to George Knapp about that. I was blocked. Now, I don't know if I was blocked by possible alien beings or blocked by the government or what, but I tried it twice and I was blocked when I got to the 5th phase. So I think there are instances where when you do an RV, it can be picked up on. Supposedly it can't be picked up on. I've talked to people who knew a little bit about the CIA involvement into remote viewing and ultra. They don't believe that you can be, but I know for a fact that you can be blocked. Now,
Right.
what causes that, I don't know. But when you're in the middle of something and all of a sudden it just goes blank on you, you know you're being blocked. It's rare, but it does happen.
Have you ever met up with somebody else while you're remote viewing? Like, have you met up with another remote viewer or somebody who is watching you as you were remote viewing?
I think in one instance. Yeah, this was a case that was actually in Maryland, and I was looking into possible government infiltration of someone's property, and that's been, oh God, how long has that been? That was 2013, so it's been 12 years. But yeah, I was blocked. Yeah, it just went dead on me. Now I wasn't working with anybody else. I don't have any way of proving that, but I not long after that I did have a confrontation with some of the alphabet people.
What happened there?
Well, they knew I was working on the case because the guy I was doing it for, he was getting a hold of his congressperson and other people, and the congressperson just got tired of him bugging him, so he went to someone who got a hold of the NSA, and the NSA came out and talked to me.
No kidding.
Yeah. Oh, I've had 3 encounters over the years.
What happens when you have an encounter like that? For those of us who never have, we hear about it.
Well,
But what happens?
most of the time they're pretty cool about it. They just ask you to back off, or if you will back off. I'm not going to argue with them. I tell them absolutely. If it's causing an issue, I don't want to be any part of it. That last time, the one in 2013 was the last one. That was NSA. I was at my doctor's office. I was living down outside of Baltimore at the time. It was it was weird because I got called back to the examination room. The nurse had just taken me out, so I was in there waiting for the doctor to show up.
Mm-hmm.
After I was there about 10 minutes, the nurse came, knocked on the door, came in, said, "Mr. Strickler, there are 2 people out here who want to talk to you out in the waiting room. And they can't come back here, so you're going to have to go out to them." I said, "Who were they?" He said, "Just a man and a woman. But they specifically said they wanted to talk to you." Okay. Well, I walked out, and there's a guy and a woman there. You know, she had a dress suit on, and and the first thing they did, and there was a crowd of people in that waiting room. It was packed. They flashed the badges. "Mr. Strickler, we're with the National Security Administration. We'd like to talk to you. We have an office secured across the hallway. Can you follow us, please?" Okay. And I had no idea what it was about. I had a feeling what it was about, and we got in there, and they said, well, they then mentioned the guy's name. They told me what he had been doing. He'd been contacting his congressman. They wanted to know if I knew about about the contact. I didn't. He didn't tell me anything about that. They said, we're going to ask you, because it came to us that we'd like for you to stop looking into this. We don't think there's anything to it. And there's other people who would like you to stop. Can you give us your guarantee that you will not continue looking into this? And I said, absolutely.
Wow.
Yep. So I did. I contacted the guy when I got home. I told him, I said, that's it. When they start knocking, you just back off. And that's what I did.
That is nothing short of creepy right there.
Yeah. But it happens. I've had other people tell me this very closely. I mean, almost the same exact thing. And it's just not NSA. It's, I had one friend of mine who got a visit from NASA. That was years ago, but it was, he got a visit from NASA. Air Force does that. Yeah.
Jay is asking if you've had the chance to remote view 3-Eye Atlas.
No, I haven't. I'm gonna, if I do that, the protocol is gonna have to be different, and I'm gonna have to confer with a colleague of mine who I've worked with on many RVs and cases.
Right.
But no, I haven't. I have had people ask me if I'm going to RV, but at this point right now, I don't know.
What do you think it is? What's your gut feeling?
Well, the way the thing is acting, it's definitely an anomaly. I don't think it's a comet. I think it may very well be closer to an asteroid, but it is really putting out some strange chemical signatures that they're picking up on, and let alone this thing changing direction. Almost like there's something intelligent behind it. I don't know, but it's so weird. It really is weird. And I don't even know what I would want to gear the RV to, other than just trying to get a sense of what we're dealing with and what possible information I could get from an RV.
Yeah, I have no idea what this thing is. I mean,
It's strange.
I would say probably about 90%, I'm sure that it is a comet or an asteroid of some sort.
Yeah.
But there's that 10% of me, that woo side, that absolutely wants this to be an alien ship, man. And here's the problem, though. If it was an alien ship, we'll never know about it. We will never know. They won't even tell us.
No.
They'll cut the feed to James Webb or Hubble or any of the satellites going through.
Well, you know my whole thoughts on disclosure. It's not going to happen unless it absolutely has to happen. And, the whole congressional thing that's been going on off and on for years, they're spoon feeding us what they feel they can tell us. But many of us who have been involved with the whole phenomena for many years, from what they are telling us, it's nothing new. We've been hearing about that for a long time. So, I don't know. I don't put much faith into disclosure. I really don't.
No. Brandon Fugel, the owner of Skinwalker Ranch, has recently come out saying he thinks disclosure is dead as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and I've thought that for a long time.
Me too, my man.
I think Butch thought the same thing. I mean, he and I had talked about it. And, we have looked on some cases that had some cover up. They just don't budge. They really don't budge. It's kind of inherent with them that, if it's no need to know, you're not going to know.
Let's go to another question here. We got 4.5 minutes. Okay. And let's go to, where are we here? Let's go to Jessica. What cryptid have you seen with your eyes the last time you saw a cryptid?
1988 winged humanoid here in Pennsylvania. That was the last one. I've seen two, but I had a Bigfoot encounter in 1981, but I had the winged humanoid encounter in 1988. That's the last I've seen.
Joe is asking, would you rather come face to face with a Bigfoot in the woods or feral humans in the woods? Good question.
Probably a Bigfoot. I've already gone through that, and I didn't feel threatened at all. A feral human, you don't know what you're running into there. So yeah, I'd say Bigfoot.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Feral humans somehow have these traps and these contraptions that they built out of nature that are just meant to hurt you.
Yeah.
Don't trust them.
You know, I've heard a lot of feral human reports over the years, and yeah, they're not too trustworthy. There is a real creep factor when it comes to them.
Oh,
I can't
totally.
say that a Bigfoot.
All right, let's go to another question here. Let's go to Chris Teen, who is asking, Lon, do you wear or use protective crystals to block psychic attacks?
Yes, I do. I use affirmation. I use white light and golden light aura protection. And I use crystals, and I always keep crystals with me. The crystals I always keep with me are yttrium fluorite and black tourmaline.
The old black tourmaline. I got some of that.
Yeah, black tourmaline is good. It works well.
We call Josh the wizard around these parts. Sneaking in a question before he comes on the air in a little bit. If you take the original witness testimony of Mothman in that it is more like a Birdman, have you ever compared other Birdman type sightings looking for correlations?
Probably more times than I want to admit. But, you know, I've tried to compare all these winged humanoid sightings, modern and older ones from, you know, antiquity. I think all in all, there's a relationship, but there are differences. I don't think any of them are indigenous. I think they're all from someplace else. You know, I told you my theory about the Point Pleasant Mothman. I think it was a summoned being. I think it was summoned by a very strong spirit. And I think Chicago overall, there may be something as well that is a protective spirit, but there are a lot of differences. I mean, the sightings in Chicago are so strange because it does seem like these things really want to be seen, and they're not shy. Now they're not aggressive, as opposed to what the Mothman at Point Pleasant was. That did show some aggression, but you know, until we get more evidence, and you know, I've been saying that for a long time, and I know people are tired of hearing it, but until I get more evidence and more to base it on, I don't really see a real close relationship, but I do believe they are related in some degree.
Lon, it's almost that time where we have to say good night to you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize to those who we didn't get to their questions, but tell everybody where they can find Phantoms and Monsters.
Go to phantomsmonsters.com, and it's a new website. We redid the whole website. It's going to have more bells and whistles as we go. There's also a newsletter. You can sign up for the newsletter on the website. I'm going to try to get that out every 2 weeks. I just started it this month. And also go to Fams and Monsters Radio on YouTube. Just search it and it'll come up. And we do a live show every Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Hey, Lon, you can go watch the top of the 16th inning right now.
That's ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
That's ridiculous.
2:00 in the morning. They're still playing baseball, Lon.
You know, you think they would eventually call it and resume it another time?
Mm-mm.
I mean, when you're out of players, I mean, damn, that, you know.
Play till there's a winner.
Well, if somebody gets hurt, there's going to be some hell about that. You can bet that.
Of course. All right, buddy. Talk to you later. Happy birthday.
Thank you. And we will talk about Flight 21 at another time. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe Wednesday.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Later. Be right back, everybody. All right. Let's bring in the wizard. Wizard, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Apparently, I'm one of the lucky few that gets to keep a space in my YouTube channel. That's what I'm finding out.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
All right, we got about a minute to go here.
Maybe I was grandfathered in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, is there anything better on a cracker than beer cheese? Maybe beer cheese and summer sausage.
I like Boursin cheese.
What's Boursin
Cranberry?
cheese?
The cranberry one. Do you have Boursin
Wow.
cheese?
I've never had it.
Oh, it's like a cream cheese. It's really nice. Thank you to Kitty and T-Bone tonight. Greatly appreciate the love. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell, and leave a comment after the show. It helps with our algorithms if you don't mind. We'd appreciate it. And here we go. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hobbledahoy. Hobbledahoy is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
You can call me Sinclair or Midnight, whatever you prefer. I'm a country kid from California. It's not all movies and surfing out here, just big farms and ranches mainly. But there are also forests. Deep, dark forests at that. I've had my share of the paranormal and cryptids, and I've got some pretty interesting stories to tell you, but I thought I'd start with this one. Now, I grew up camping and hunting. It's pretty big in my family, and we've hunted the California forest and mountains for generations, especially the farther back areas. A couple of years back, me and my dad, a couple of my cousins, and uncles went on this big camping trip, kind of like a guy's retreat or something. It's a bit of a tradition here. On the first night, everything seemed calm as we sat around the fire, but suddenly, one of my cousins perked up and said, "Hey, y'all hear that?" We stopped for a second and went quiet. There it was, a snapping out in the dark. It sounded farther off. My dad and uncles thought it might be a bear, as it was the fall time and they'd be out, but we all knew better. A bear in the woods doesn't want attention, and trust me, you'd never even know it was there unless you knew what to look or listen for. We stayed on alert the entire time. There have been rumors about this region for a while now, rumors about Bigfoot. Some of us were believers, but a lot of the cousins weren't. But if you stay back in the woods long enough, you'd know the surroundings try real hard not to be found. Going on, this continued for probably 3 days straight. But each time, it was like it was getting closer. Almost sizing us up, so to speak. What with there being like 15 of us in all. But then it got worse. The thing got real close one night and my dad decided to end this. He fired the 12-gauge shotgun in the air, and the footsteps disappeared into the dark. Then, that night, 3 loud knocks started coming at all hours of the night. It was like you would close your eyes and drift off and blam, a massive knock. We weren't leaving, though. We're too tough for that, you know? We were more curious, as I like to look at it. By the sixth night, everything went quiet and we thought it was over. We had guys stay out in pairs to guard, and it was my turn with my cousin Kay. Kay was relaxed, but I couldn't shake that feeling at all. I felt like I was being watched. Then suddenly, a rock flew out of nowhere and smashed into the middle of the fire, launching sparks everywhere. We woke everyone up as a roar filled the night sky. Everyone was up, and every once in a while, we got pelted by large stones. Enough was enough, and we unleashed our bloodhounds, and they chased this thing for almost 3 miles in those dense woods. By the time we caught up to the hound, they were lapping at a rock formation. It was something like I've never seen before. After some time, we found an opening hidden under the brush. We thought it was time to end it all, but we thought better of it, at least for that day. I'll continue sharing this story if this one gets read, I guess. There are many more encounters with these Bigfoots and other things in these woods. Thank you for sharing my story.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories there for you to choose from if you want to get creeped out after this show tonight. Time for the wizard.
Spaced Out Radio presents a UFO report. The UFO wizard makes his presence known. Just ready to go.
All right, Josh Rutledge, good to have you here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. Ready to kick off this next week of UFO activity, if there will be any.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you, locally here, the people are talking. There was a big potential UFO sighting in my area last night.
Wow.
Yeah. So apparently, now I think it was a meteor because when a meteor flies through the sky, it always seems to have that really nice color blue that goes along with it. And many people from north of me down south by a couple hours drive claim to have seen this blue object streak across the sky. Our area here is very well known for meteors and meteorites hitting. So I think that's what it was, but still watching the people around here, did anybody see it? Did anybody go through with it? I mean, it just goes to show, and I don't mean this as an insult, but how uneducated so many of us are about what comes into our atmosphere, what could be flying by.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's really interesting too, because I've seen a big green fireball before. I actually saw one on Halloween night, like in 22, I think. And what a lot of people don't realize is you can tell what a meteor is made of by what color it emits when it's burning up in the atmosphere. So like green, I think I've always heard is magnesium, I think. Blue is usually like magnesium or iron, which, most meteors are made up of iron. So the ones that still impact the ground are typically made up of iron because there's enough iron is so dense, there's enough of it left over by the time it goes through its burn process, entering the atmosphere, that there's enough to actually hit the ground. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's, I think that's what we saw primarily with even the New Jersey drone situation. Was it just because it was on the local news, people looked up and then they saw things in the night sky that they have never seen before because they don't normally look up. And honestly, I probably blame smartphones a lot for the reason why people are not aware of what is in the night sky, because when they're walking around, sometimes even from just the car in the driveway to the front door, they're looking at their phones.
I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you on that. And it's very interesting to note that, we really do not have a big understanding of knowledge. I mean, even if we look in the sky, and even myself, I mean, you see these satellites flying by. Some of them look like they are just crawling through the sky, while others seem like they're on some sort of speed racetrack going like triple the speed.
Well, and some, some satellites orbit the same direction as the Earth. Some satellites orbit against the rotation of the Earth. So when you add in our rotation with their movement relative to our rotation, it can make it look like they're moving extremely fast. Some satellites take more of an elliptical type orbit, where in areas they pass a little higher in the peak of their orbit, and then pass a little closer in the lowest point of their orbit. So, but you're right, and then on top of that, not just satellites, there's just a ton of space debris, just nuts and bolts and old parts of rockets and even old satellites that we don't use anymore. We're letting their orbit just kind of gradually decay, and they randomly burn up and re-enter the atmosphere and burn up and crash down, typically in an ocean somewhere. I found a website once upon a time that was, you could go and it had somebody, I think it was like NASA or somebody, or European Space Agency, had mapped all of the known pieces of debris that were in our orbit. And let's just say that we don't just have junkyards on our planet. I mean, there's just thousands and thousands of pieces of space debris.
And that's a good point too, because we also have to remember that there are literally these are the reasons why, NASA or SpaceX or anybody like that has to, pick a certain time to go, because they are trying to find a path through that space debris. And look, satellites have blown up. Satellites have had pieces broken off on them. There's space rocks out there. I mean, and you have to realize that at the way that things are moving up there, I mean, even the smallest little screw that comes loose on the space station and starts floating on by, that would tear a hole through you like a bullet.
Yeah. I mean, you don't really want to have a screw loose.
Not up there, no.
But yeah, that's very true. And then, a lot of that stuff though is non-reflective. Like people talk about satellite flaring, and what that is for anybody who's listening who already knows, just bear with me for a moment for those who don't. But there are surfaces, mainly solar panels, on certain satellites. It's been called to the attention lately because of Starlink and how many satellites they're putting up, but this could be true across any satellite. But there are surfaces that are large reflective surfaces that, when the sun is in a kind of the correct kind of geometrical angle to where the sun's rays hitting the object, and those are bouncing down and they're visible to us. And that's why in the night sky you can see these brightly lit satellites moving across the sky. It's because they're reflecting the sun's rays back down to us. Sometimes those satellites are tumbling, and when they tumble, they move into and then out of that kind of reflection period. So it may even appear that they are flashing at you. But if they're flashing at you on a regular kind of sequence, like you can count, and it's every 19 seconds or something that it flashes at you, more than likely that's a tumbling satellite that is just, it takes it 19 seconds to complete its revolution, and then it comes back around and reflects that sunlight back at you. But these are all things that I've learned since, taking an interest in all of this stuff. And if you have kind of a quasi interest in the UAP topic, but not enough to spend any time investigating it, then you could potentially misidentify things that are man-made objects, or even natural objects, or not natural, let's say, occurring events that could be misidentified as well.
And that's the big thing. So out of all the reports that you get from MUFON, being a MUFON investigator, How many of them, say out of 10, every 10 reports, how many of them are actual UFOs?
Well, I'll give you a better number. So last year I worked 26 reports. And of those 26, I think it was like 12 or 13 for me were unknown. The thing about the thing about the MUFON investigatory process, and I don't say this to speak ill of MUFON. They're just not, they don't have the volunteer staffing to do it the correct way, in my opinion. But it is very subjective. So if I'm a field investigator and I look at a MUFON case, and I don't load it with any bias. I try not to load it with any bias. I don't walk into it saying this has to be a UAP or there's no way this can be a UAP. I walk into it trying to be as neutral as possible. Take the witness testimony, review the provided evidence, look at potential prosaic explanations, and ultimately come down with what I think it is. But there are investigators in MUFON that do not take that approach. They're either heavily biased towards everything is an unknown, or most things are an unknown, or they're heavily biased the other way, where they've never seen a UFO. They joined MUFON, became an investigator so that they could find the case that is going to prove them wrong, but so far they haven't found it. So for them, all the cases they investigate get classified as man-made or IFO. So that's where I think it's somewhat subjective, and not somewhat, it is very subjective, the MUFON investigatory process. Ideally every case that gets investigated would go through a series of peer reviews, probably one key investigator and then 2 additional peer reviews per case. And then whatever the common agreement amongst those, the original investigation and the 2 peer reviews, that's what would be accepted as the disposition on the case. But unfortunately, like I said, MUFON doesn't have the volunteer staff in order to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem. When you're dealing with volunteers, you're working on their time, not on your time. And I feel for MUFON in that way, because that's something that MUFON just cannot, cure.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault.
Well, and frankly, I mean, anybody who tries to perform any type of mass investigation type process where they're going to do the same thing, they're going to run into the same issue. The only way to possibly remove some of that would be to have, AI, machine learning act as that initial investigatory body, where it assigns a potential disposition, and then somebody just reviews that potential disposition based on the information that AI or machine learning collected, and then gives, kind of a final either, yes, I agree with this, or no, I don't, and here's why. And then those that are the disagreement with the AI disposition, those get a 3rd peer review to make the final determination of what the disposition is.
Right. So you covered how many cases? 26 cases this year?
Last year, yep. I was the Arizona MUFON Field Investigator of the Year, my first year out. So, and so far this year, I've covered 5 cases. So, but I also joined the Experiencer Resource Team at MUFON, which is a team dedicated to working with experiencers to just provide a listening ear and then provide them any resources that they may want or need to kind of help them work through that experience that they've had and what it means and all of that kind of stuff. So I've also now got those types of cases on my plate as well.
So explain that, what that means, the Experiencer Resources Team.
Yeah. So let's say that you have a UFO sighting and you have an abduction experience. So you might log your case with MUFON, and you may indicate that you had a UFO sighting and you had an abduction experience. And when that case comes through, it gets assigned to a field investigator who researches or investigates the UFO side of that report. And then it comes to a member of the ERT, which again stands for the Experiencer Resource Team. It was stood up by Kathleen Martin some years ago within MUFON. And so that team is responsible for just providing a listening ear. And then if the experiencer wants, let's say, they want to go through a hypnosis to try to regress and get more information, or they would like to have they would like to be a part of a local, experiencer group that they can meet up with or virtually meet up with and share their story and hear the story of others and feel that they're not alone. The ERT helps link them to those resources. Even if they would just want to talk to a therapist. Well, here's a list of therapists in the area who are sensitive to this topic. They're not going to just dismiss you or tell you that you're conjuring demons or whatever the case may be. They're going to listen to you and provide valuable insight because they're open to the topic. So that's kind of what the ERT does. And so, like I said, I've recently joined that team. And so I get those types of cases in addition to your standard, UFO investigation cases.
Dealing with real people in real time events is very difficult in this field due to logistics, due to emotions, due to whether or not the person wants to open up. How close, if you're on that ERT team, how close do you have to get in order to try and be there quickly? Like what's the turnaround time?
So we try to, the process within MUFON is changing in the next couple of months, but it's sometimes been difficult because they get contacted by a field investigator. And so when the ERT member reaches out, there's oftentimes confusion as to, well, somebody already looked into my case. Why are you now contacting me? But like I said, we're working on changing that process so that we get a quicker turnaround or the ability to contact the experiencer before having to wait for the field investigator to, complete their part of the case investigation. But some cases, I think it's a matter of people who just want to share their story and want to be heard. And those people are easier to connect with and to arrange, a phone conversation with, etc. Sometimes we're able to do it in person. ERT members are not assigned on a per state basis like field investigators are. So you have a field investigator in Arizona who works Arizona cases, but an ERT member may, like myself, I may live in Arizona, but I may get assigned a case that's California or Oregon or Washington or Utah. They try to stay within a certain time zone so that I'm not potentially having to reach out to folks, all the way back on the East Coast or whatever, completely on a different time zone. But it's really in my experience so far, and I've only had 3 ERT cases so far, but of those 3, 2 completely ghosted me, would not respond, would not reply, made 3 or 4 different attempts, email and phone, could not get them on the line. A third one, very open to sharing his stories, and we're arranging a conversation, this week. So it's really just a matter, I think, of the people and how comfortable they feel sharing and where they are in the process.
The UFO Report with Josh Rutledge continues after this.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Holy cow. Going into the 18th inning.
What game is this?
Game 3 of the World Series
Oh,
between Toronto and LA. My goodness. It's 2:30 in the morning for Jays fans.
wow. I'm not really a big watch baseball. I mean, I like going to live games, but
Mhm.
not really a watch baseball on TV kind of guy. It's too slow and boring. So I'd rather watch curling than baseball or
I love
bowling or bowling.
Curling's amazing. Wow.
Curling's like shock putt on ice, isn't it? I mean, basically,
It's
not
like
shock putt,
shuffleboard.
a shuffleboard. Yeah, shuffleboard on ice. Yeah. I do have something, by the way, when we come back
I
that
know.
has hit the news wires over the last day or so.
Okay.
But it's directly related to our conversation for the first half.
Beautiful. Let's do it. We got about 3.5 minutes.
What's that behind you? The card looks like a playing card on a towel or something.
Hold on, let me take a look here. Where are you looking?
It's like
Here?
an ace of spades. Like it's
There?
on the wall directly behind
Right
your
here.
chair. Yeah.
That is an R and an A for Axl Rose.
Okay.
Yeah, that's from their No Trickery tour, their first ever residency at the Hard Rock Hotel in Vegas. 2012.
Nice.
Yeah. I was not leaving without that shirt. And you know, it's funny because I wore that shirt to a Guns N' Roses concert in 2016 in Vancouver. And people were like, "Where did you get that shirt? How did you I've never seen that shirt before." I'm like, "Yeah, man. No trickery."
So one day you can auction it off and send at least one of your kids to college.
I'm actually not to sound morbid, that's my death shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I go into the oven, I'll be wearing that thing, man.
Well, you think you will, but I mean,
Oh no, I've got it. I've got it in my will, man.
Okay.
Ball cap, my favorite ball cap. My shirt, my favorite shorts, no socks. Paradise City playing in the background.
I heard a really neat thing from Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about cremation one time. He said, if you get buried in the earth, then eventually you break down and you become part of the earth. But if you get burned in the oven, then all of the heat escapes the chimney via infrared light, and it actually goes out into the universe and just perpetually expands into the universe forever.
Oh my God. I gotta stop that conversation. I'm about to have a panic attack.
Oh, okay.
Death absolutely scares the hell out of me.
All right. My bad.
No, that's it's my fault, not yours. Like I'm about to throw up. It's not you, it's my own anxiety over it. That's how bad my anxiety is about death.
Well, I'm hitting you with a little bit of Reiki right now to see if that helps you.
Oh God, thank you. You're the man. You're the man. I have like severe panic attacks about death. Severe. Even though I know that I can go haunt people afterwards.
Yeah.
It's the what kills me is the what if factor.
Ah.
That even though I'm a God guy and everything, that what if factor scares the hell out of me. Always has. Always has. We got
Interesting.
15 seconds.
Well, let's reset the energy here, Dave.
Rock and roll, dude. We're going to reset it in like 3 seconds. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, man, we want to all remind you. Why do they say, hey, man? Like, really? Come on, Dave. Proper English here. Hey, everybody. We want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. He's Josh Rutledge. He's from the UFO Report. We call him the wizard around here. And you got a report for us.
I do. This has actually been in the news quite a bit over the last 24 hours. Everybody's covering it, like everybody. The most obscure news websites on the interwebs is covering this. So Enigma Labs put out, or somebody, either a user of Enigma's application, mobile application, or the Enigma Labs themselves put out a statement that they have recorded over 9,000 mysterious sightings within 10 miles of U.S. shorelines or major bodies of water. More than 150 of these describe objects hovering just above or plunging into the water. The states topping the list are California and Florida, both coastal states with vast maritime zones. Enigma Labs claims that it is the largest database of UAP anomalies. And I can say I downloaded the app and I looked at, out of curiosity, I looked it up. And my report that I made to MUFON in 2021 in Kentucky was in their database. And my reports that I've made to New Fork is in their database. So Enigma Labs is at least consuming data from both MUFON and New Fork into their database. But there are the way that they've got it structured, you can go on the app and you can submit your report directly in the app. So there are video and sighting and pictures of information in there from people all over the world. There's stuff in France. I mean, it's a pretty significant step forward and maybe crowdsourcing the solution or to help solve the UAP mystery. But like I said, everybody and their mother is covering the story, which to me makes it feel like more of a PR push than a natural kind of look at this awesome story that we just found out about and then is now being picked up by everybody. It seems more like somebody in Enigma Labs got the top 10 networks to run the story, and then everybody else picked it up.
I'm going to say something here, and I might be a little bit controversial here. Okay, but I don't mind. Enigma Labs, when they first came out, were claiming they had 500,000 reports almost instantaneously reported to them. They're using the term reported to them.
Yep.
Okay. And then that number went down to 250,000, then 125,000. And then they stopped posting the number. For them to sit there and say that they are getting all of these reports, it's theft.
Well, I would say it's theft of potential. It's misrepresentation. because if MUFON and New Fork
It's
are willingly,
plagiarism. It's plagiarism.
yes. But if MUFON and New Fork are willingly providing them with their databases, then it's not theft of that intellectual property, but it is, like you said, plagiarism, because they're claiming that they have received, like you said, 500,000 reports, when in all actuality, you know, probably 3/4 of that 500,000 came from the New Fork and MUFON database systems. And so no one reported those reports to Enigma. Enigma just acquired that data.
Yeah, but all you have to do to acquire that data is pay the fee to join MUFON. Then
That's
you get
not true.
access.
That's not true. There you can pay the fee to join MUFON and you can search the database, but you can't download the database. You have to go through. Trust me, I've been trying to download snippets of the database for many years as a part of my research, and I get crickets. So there is a process to go about getting some sort of a dump from the MUFON database. Bigelow did it back when OSAP was stood up, back in the late 90s. And apparently now Enigma has as well. But it is a snapshot in time, because I looked at some cases that I've worked since becoming a field investigator. I've looked those up in Enigma, and they're not there. So they got a snapshot in time of the MUFON database, you know, where my sighting was included, but the stuff that I've worked since, 2024 and 2025 was not there. So whether or not they're going to continue to get it, I don't know. But the point, I think the point you're trying to make is that you can't claim that you have received 500,000 reports, which implies that there are lots of people using your system to report UAPs, when that's not actually true.
Well, it's Enigma. The problem with Enigma is they have been caught in so many alleged lies. Okay, claiming they had no interest in doing any government work, yet here they were working with government agencies like NASA. Okay, how does a group that barely has any reports 6 months into their promotion all of a sudden get asked to speak as a UAP/UFO professional research team at a private NASA UAP conference? Their reports, what people don't understand is they tried to buy off people with 6-figure contracts in the UFO world, allegedly.
Mhm.
I've talked to 2 people who were offered 6 figures who declined it. And one was a journalist. They were trying to buy off journalists in this field to work for them and to cover their stories. That failed. They tried to purchase, I know they tried to purchase numerous private UFO accounts, including David Marler's, which was declined. I do know Ben Hansen did sell his to Enigma Labs. So the question is somebody in MUFON giving them access to it, which I highly doubt, or have they figured out a way to get around the system?
Well, I do not doubt that MUFON is giving them access to it. I have no insider knowledge. I just don't doubt that MUFON is giving, because MUFON did it before. They did it before for Robert Bigelow. They might be charging a fee. Enigma might be paying a fee for the access to that data. But the only potential, those that, it was all over Reddit for a while, but MUFON went down for a little bit last year. They were hacked.
Yes.
With ransomware.
Which we broke on this show.
Okay. So, it caused them to kind of reconfigure their infrastructure and things to try to make them a little more secure. But it was down for like 3 or 4 months total for, not only making reports, but for investigators to even log into the system to work on reports. And so, it was theorized then because shortly, within a few weeks or a couple months after that, Enigma made their post about having so many of these cases. It was floated online on like Reddit and places that Enigma had somehow obtained the CMS. But I really don't think that would be the case. I don't see how, if that was the case, they would still be allowed to operate. So yeah, there is something peculiar with Enigma Labs. I don't know why MUFON has tried to be what Enigma Labs is claiming to be for a long time. I don't know why they would agree to put all of their case records in Enigma Labs, why they would basically roll over and let Enigma become what MUFON has tried to become for the last 50 years.
I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you. And the unfortunate part about it is this is where you're at, right? Because MUFON, people have to understand there's two different sides to MUFON. You have the business side, which at times over the last 20 years, 18 years has made some really shady moves at times. I think we can admit that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once again, away from the field investigators. You're a field investigator. Okay. Away from the field investigators, MUFON has done things that have been shady. Okay. But they're investigators such as yourself. And I'm not just saying this because you're a friend and you're part of this show. I know a lot of MUFON investigators. I know a lot of state directors. They're good people.
Yeah.
They're very good people who care about the cause of what they are doing, which is trying to do independent research and investigation on the UFO sightings. Their job is needed. However, I think at times leadership of MUFON in their board of directors gets a little confused with the direction that they want to go. And at times, I think there's a real old school mentality that if we don't talk about it, it doesn't happen. They've never addressed the Robert Bigelow situation, where he literally paid off MUFON for their records of a total of about, I think, $600,000 to $700,000. They never cleared up the John Ventry racism situation, and yet Ventry was sitting and still putting conferences together under MUFON's name in the East Coast. They never cleared up the Jan Harzan situation, where the former director of MUFON was, well, let's face it, he was convicted of trying to lure underage women. They never addressed that. And yet their computers were used as evidence from their California offices. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that hasn't been done. That's just 3 cases that the board of directors has really shuffled under the table. And that's why a lot of the MUFON board of directors don't care for me, because I won't let it go. Right? But as for the investigation people, such as yourself and many others that we know, you guys are doing yeoman's work. But we also know that MUFON wants to get into bed with the government, the board of directors, that is.
Yeah.
So let me tell you a story here. I don't even know if you know this. When I broke the story of MUFON's website and their DMS system getting hacked, I actually got a call from MUFON's lawyer, who wasn't MUFON's lawyer, but she represented herself as such. But she was part of a lawyer team from a group called A10, which is an activism group out of Washington, D.C. And when MUFON and A10 had conjoined to work with one another, the president of this A10 group was given an immediate slot on the board of directors of MUFON. So when I broke the story, I had it confirmed from a couple different sources that this had happened. And she tried to deny the story. And I said, that's not true. This is what I've heard. She's like, well, you're going to pull the story then, right? And I said, no, I'm not. I said, because even though your information is different than mine, I have confirmed mine. And we went on and on about this, and she tried to talk lawyer tough. And I just said, you realize I'm a journalist and I know how this works, right? Because she even asked me for my sources. Well, who's the ones telling you? And I said, you don't have a right to know. You don't need to know who told me this. She goes, well, I do if I could change the proper story that you're reporting on. I said, no. I said, it's multiple sources. You don't need to know. One of them is now deceased. Right? And that was, I'll give you one because he's deceased. That's Earl Grey. And everybody loved Earl Grey.
Yep.
Like, talk about one of the greatest people in ufology ever. And so she goes, well, what do you need in order to keep quiet? I said, I need a statement from Dave, the president of MUFON, of the board of directors. He needs to put out a statement. Said, you put out a statement. I'll read the statement on air. That's when Dave McDonald put out a statement. I caused that.
There you go, Dave.
But it wasn't. Here's the thing, though. It wasn't about winning or losing.
Right.
It just, MUFON has a habit that if we don't, the board of directors, let me specify again. The board of directors has a habit that if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. That's the way they've always done things.
And I would say that, like you pointed out, is an old school way of thinking and not really practical in today's, media connected world.
No.
Like you have to move to a model where you get ahead of things more so than waiting to see if the poop's going to land on your doorstep.
I will tell you, when the Jan Harzan story came out, okay, which has never been discussed by MUFON, they shoved that under the rug so quick. Okay, when Jan Harzan, was the former director, was arrested for trying to lure a young girl, and it was a police officer who was playing the role of the young girl. I said to 3 different board of director members, I said, I'm saying this not as a journalist, but as somebody who supports you guys, even though you think I hate you. Okay. And I said, you need to conduct an independent investigation of everybody in that office and everybody on the board to clear your name. It's good publicity. So these 3 people brought it to John Schusler and Dave McDonald, and they went apparently irate over it, saying, we're not doing that. We're not saying anything. You imagine how much better the reputation would have been if they would have came out and just, they knew it was going to prove that nobody else was involved.
Right.
But just to do that independent research and have that independent investigator saying, we care. We're going to make sure this never happens again. But they couldn't even do that.
Yep. No, I hear you. And you're right. I mean, MUFON has a very sordid past, and they continue to make decisions that really call into question. And frankly, I don't want to, hopefully this doesn't burn me as a field investigator, but I do see even problems in how, like I pointed out earlier, around, the lack of peer review and things like that, that I I question MUFON's motives. If MUFON is truly trying to find answers to the mystery of UAP, I just question why they have structured their investigatory process the way they have, that introduces so much, evidence or data that cannot be supported. There's too much bias in too many reports, that if you had access to the back end database, so not just the front end that has, the sighting details, but the back end that actually had what the field investigator found and what their disposition was. If you looked at it and you said, okay, I'm going to look at all the lights in the sky cases where disposition is unknown, you would potentially be leaving legitimate cases on the floor because the person who investigated it cannot find it in themselves to classify a light in the sky case as unknown.
Right.
So because of that, the MUFON data, other than just being a repository of case sightings, is not very useful in an investigatory perspective, in any type of like research and analysis perspective. You would almost have to go through and reconduct all the field and all the investigations based on the information provided and come to your own conclusions as to whether or not the disposition was accurate or not. And nobody has the time to do that. The other piece is, and I probably will get shunned for this one. If you go and fill out a MUFON report, there's a banner at the top that says, if you upload or attach any media, it becomes exclusive rights of MUFON.
And on that note, Josh Rutledge, thank you very much as we say goodnight to Josh, the wizard. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. And once again, I want to just be on record. I like MUFON. I do. I really do. They seem to have an issue with me, but I really like MUFON.
I like what I get to do. I like doing the investigations. I especially like being a member of the ERT. But I do also think that they're not. Something is nagging at me that they're not being truthful about why they exist. Like, because again, it's just not, they all, all through the training and stuff for the field investigator, they talk about the need and importance of approaching everything from a scientific perspective. But from a scientific perspective, you can't publish results that are not peer reviewed and be respected. So again, like the whole lack of peer review for all these cases is difficult for me to overcome. And so it really, again, begs the question of what they're trying to achieve. Is it just to be able to say, the words that they investigate, but then not be able to really back up any of that with saying, and here's our way that we ensure that the investigative process is complete and pure, and you can trust the information you're getting from it, and so on and so forth. Is it just a differentiator between other organizations that were out at the time and are out now, that we investigate, others talk, but we investigate? Because again, I just don't see where there's a lot of effort placed into making sure those investigations are accurate.
So what is the purpose then?
Well, that whole line at the top of the form, when you go to the website, you go to fill out a report, there's like I said, like a big yellow banner that says that if you attach any media, it becomes the sole property of MUFON. It seems to me that they're more after pictures and video.
Right. And you can't blame them for that, though.
No, but I'm not sure that as we know, people don't read the terms of service. So how many people fill out that report not realizing that the awesome video that they captured of the next jellyfish video is now the sole and exclusive property of MUFON, and you have no retained rights to that video. And if you use that video anywhere, if you sell it to anybody, MUFON is entitled to 100% of whatever you obtain for the sale of that video, because MUFON owns the rights to it. So to me, it's almost like MUFON is more of an entertainment and media company, and they use the line "we investigate," and they employ field investigators to differentiate themselves from everybody else.
Right.
And the ability to sell their database, right? Their database of reports to anybody who would want to consume them. Which is the same thing Enigma Labs is going to do. They won't sell your private information, but they'll sell their database of reports.
They'll also, there is rumor that they also have, will turn that information over to the government.
I've heard that rumor. Yeah. I've also heard that rumor. And, I even called it out when, like, one of the not the last UAP hearing, but the one before it. One of the panel members, not panel, but one of the congressional members asked, is there any place that people can go to file their sighting? And several of the panelists threw out newfork.org. They threw out newfork.org over MUFON.com. Newfork does absolutely zero investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's a one-man crew,
right?
And
so that should be telling.
The unfortunate part about what's the gentleman's name? Peter Davenport is he's, I think, 84, 85 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he doesn't have much gas in the tank to keep going. Right? Stephen Drysdale, the RCMP have always had a division of doing UFO reports. And in fact, those reports get turned over immediately to NORAD, which means that they go straight to Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado from RCMP headquarters. And that's who distributes the report. So when you hand a UFO report to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, expect the American government to get your personal information.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
And I heard that from a police officer and a dispatcher confirming it. So what happens is, let's say if we talk about the RCMP, okay, what happens is when they take a UFO report. So let's say, Josh, you live in Canada and you all of a sudden say you're on the prairies and you see a UFO on your land. You call in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Hey, I've got this strange object sitting on my land, and the RCMP come in. So the first thing, and this is what a police officer told me directly on this. I said, so what's the protocol for UFOs? And he didn't even flinch, and he says, on the air or in the air or on the ground. And my jaw dropped and hit the ground. I said, let's start off on the ground. He goes, okay, if it's on the ground and you call in a report, he goes, that file literally becomes the most prioritized file. So I could be calling in a break and enter to my house, and there's a UFO on the ground. Like, you report a UFO, they have to respond to the UFO first. Because it's national security.
Yeah.
Okay. Just in case it's not a UFO, it's a UAP. Right?
Yeah.
So he goes, then the RCMP will cordon off the area until the military gets there. I said, okay, well, what if it's in the air? He goes, well, then we'll call it in, and then they'll dispatch the two closest CF-18 Hornets to try and intercept the craft. I said, okay. I said, so what happens is the minute you call in a UFO report to the RCMP, it goes immediately to the staff sergeant's desk who runs the depot. Okay. So my town, the staff sergeant gets the file. He immediately has to send that to HQ in Ottawa, who immediately sends it to Cheyenne Mountain at NORAD. So all of your information that you just took or gave the RCMP goes straight to NORAD, which means that if you're Canadian, NORAD now has your personal information if you've called in a UFO report to the RCMP.
Do you all y'all have a rule or law around protection of PII?
Not when it involves military.
Interesting.
So
real quick before I go off, I don't know. Just want to make sure it's real clear. I do not want to stop being a field investigator at MUFON. I don't want anybody to hear me talking about MUFON tonight and to think there's a disgruntled employee or field investigator. We need to get him out. I like what I do, but I do think there are lots of opportunities to improve the process. And as a process improvement guy, as my professional career for 20 plus years, it's impossible for me not to see these improvements.
I agree with you. And for the record, because MUFON board of directors loves to misquote me, I love MUFON. I can't say it any clearer than that. And I don't know if you ever heard it, but I've talked to Katie Page and other people in MUFON, even board directors and former board directors were like, dude, they hated you. Like they think that you were just there to tear up MUFON
Hmm.
to shreds. And I said, where? Prove to me where I've done that. Prove to me. And none of them can. Right? But they think that I hate them and I'm always gunning for them.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
and it's
that's
because you
not
shine a light on things. But shining a light on things is how they get fixed.
exactly. Exactly. So I am a big fan of MUFON. I like what MUFON does. I do. I think the field direct people who are willing to give their time for this cause, such as yourself or anybody who is a MUFON director, you should be proud of yourself for doing that. It's great. But like I said, for people, like I feel bad when people rip into when you read online where people absolutely rip into MUFON, and it has nothing to do with MUFON. It has everything to do with the board of directors, and people cannot tell the difference between the two. And that's what I try and remind people of, that this has nothing to do with the field trainers and the field officers and people who are trying really hard to bring these stories out and get that information in. Field investigators, pardon me. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But you can't lump, everyone into the same basket, because that's not true. And that's all I want people to know. But
Yeah.
for anybody who ever hears somebody from MUFON say I don't like them, that's incorrect. I really admire MUFON. I do.
Well, and I will also say that I think MUFON is in danger because they are not attracting new, younger members. My age group, I'm 47. I'm probably of the younger age group in MUFON.
Mhm.
So they're going to find themselves in a predicament if they don't do something to attract the younger generation to want to be involved and so on and so forth, because they're going to, they're going to end up like the Masonic Lodge, where, a lot of people used to go to Masonic Lodge because it was a way to, converse and interact with people in the community. And then social media replaced a lot of that. And so the Masonic Lodge memberships are dropping off across the board, across the world. And I think they're in the same boat. So they've got to do something to try to rejuvenate their image with the younger crowd. And I don't know if, the current leadership, because they're all also of the older generations, are thinking about how can they make MUFON attractive to the younger generations.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the one that needs to be figured out. Right?
Yep.
But hopefully it gets figured out for the better pretty quick. That's for sure. Anyways, buddy, we will let you go because I know you got to get up early for work.
Yep.
I got to get up early for work. Big thank you tonight to Josh and to Lon Strickler for coming on in. Tomorrow night on the show, it will be Melinda Leslie coming in to talk about underground bases and disclosure. We're going to have fun. I might get half a question in. I don't know. But I love Melinda. She's so amazing. You're going to love her too. Thank you to Kitty and T-Bone for a very quiet night on the super chats, but I much appreciate your love. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, and after the show, give a comment so that way it works for the algorithms. And I think we're getting a little bit of shadow banning going on right now. So it would really help us if we got a little bit more movement in the chat room. So I'd appreciate that. Tomorrow night, we'll see you with Melinda Leslie. Good night, everybody. Good night, Josh.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.